Follow along here, see if Bitcoin can close above the 20-week. Sorry, just bear with me for a minute as I get things set up. Follow along here. Okay, how's everyone doing tonight? I'm just gonna go ahead and post this in my Telegram group so that people know that I'm doing it. All right. So all we're gonna do, I think it's gonna be a relatively short live stream, but you know, during the last week, everyone wanted me to do a live stream, you know, when Bitcoin was, you know, near the 20-week moving average, because we've been talking about it for so long, right? We've been saying this is the level that Bitcoin needs to hold. Of course, for our bullishness to stay, you know, for our bulls to stay bulls, and not turn into bears. I would say that this is the level that we need to hold, and so this is I'm just going to do a live stream as we come up to the close here. So we're coming up to the weekly close in a few minutes. So we'll see if we close above it. The 20-week moving average right now is at 99.55, 99.55.39. As we said, right? What did we say? We said that we know the 20 weeks going to continue to move up. Therefore, for, you know, Bitcoin, you know, with that in mind, Bitcoin has to continue to move up too, right? So, you know, that's the thing, right? And this is what we've seen so far. Just like we did the last cycle. If you go back and look at the BLX and you go back to the last cycle, when we were holding that 20-week moving average, that very first time, and again, we're not saying we're going to hold it, but if we did, you know, we're doing the exact same thing that we would need to do, right? So we're putting all the necessary conditions, but not sufficient, right? And one of them, you know, there are a lot of similarities if you look at the last cycle and this cycle, right? We had this major move up, and then, you know, we came up here, and then we had a 20% retracement to the 20-week, right? So if you go back over here, same kind of thing, major move up. From here, we had a pretty large retracement. I think it was around 20%. Yeah, I mean 20%, right? Because we went from 12K down to around 10K. So around a 20% drop. Tested it, right? You zoom in, you can see that price came exactly down to the 20-week moving average on that first test, right? Down to it. Second week, had a wick below. We don't care about wicks. It's not a big deal. It's just business as usual. So the lowest we've come, you know, is around $9,800 in recent times, right? This is recent times. The lowest we've really tested is around 9,800 since this major move up. So again, in order for us to hold the 20-week, Bitcoin cannot go sideways, right? What happens if it goes sideways? Well, if it goes sideways, you know, you imagine if the 20-week continues to go up like this, and then if the price kind of comes down maybe a little and then goes just sideways, they're going to cross, right? And this is not good. So in order for Bitcoin to stay above the 20-week, it has to slowly trend upward, right? Which is what it did last cycle. I mean, if you look over here, you know, pretend like this is 12K, all right? So pretend like this is 12K. It was 450 at the time. Let's pretend like it was 12K, okay? So, and let's also draw the prior upper bound here, which became essentially our lower bound, okay? So let's pretend like this is 12K and this is 10K, but we're just looking at the last cycle. Again, and from this point down, it's approximately a 20% drop, 18% drop. So with that in mind, let me just see the comments. Okay, so with that in mind, if this is kind of our 12K and 10K, we came up to 12K, back down to 10K, which is essentially is where it held support, right? I mean, we held support at 10K, but then we ended up coming down to the 20-week moving average, right? So the orange line here is the 20-week moving average, came back up to that local top, right? And then came back down. So we came back up, came back down, came back up, came back down. Okay. Down to the 20-week, up to the local top, down to the 20-week, up to the local top, and then we moved up. So during this time, Bitcoin, I mean, it wasn't monotonically going up, right? It went up, it came down, it went up, it came down, and then it went up like that. So it was more or less moving up, but not monotonically. So the same thing applies to today, right? If we're going to repeat the pattern, Bitcoin has to trend upwards against the 20-week, otherwise it's going to fall below it. So hopefully, if the bulls want to stay in control, the price is going to have to slowly move back up in order for this to be the case. So we'll see if we close above. It's looking pretty good right now. We're at 10,003. Again, we would need to drop, 320 bucks, 330 bucks, something like that, below 10K. I mean, more than that, really. We'd have to really drop significantly below, because we're not gonna nickel and dime, right? If we close at 99.50, it really depends on which exchange you're looking at, to be honest, when you're looking at the 20-week. But if we close at like 9,900, 9,800, 9,700, this would be somewhat problematic. So we're coming up on it here in a few minutes, so we'll see what happens. Let me know if you guys have any questions. This is just going to be a relatively short stream. Michael says, anyone worried about a market correction during the bull run putting us below the 20-week moving average before hitting, say, 50K, let alone 100K? Are you guys, is the stream doing okay? Let me know if the stream's doing okay for you guys, or if it's lagging a lot. All right, so it looks like it's fine for most people. I think it's just a few people it's having an issue for. All right. Yeah. So I mean, there's always a chance, right? It doesn't hold. I mean, if you look at the first cycle, actually, we had something like that happen, right? I mean, again, it's not a perfect science. We use what we have. You go back to the first cycle, we actually had this first parabolic move, and then a second parabolic move, right? So we had this parabolic move here. It came below the 20-week. I mean, this was a time when it came below the 20-week back in 2013. It came back down, and then it slowly moved back up, broke through it, and then once it broke through it, it continued on. There's always this possibility, right? We don't discount the possibility of that happening. But the key thing, right, is if something like this were to happen, I mean, hopefully you're still taking profits on the way up, right? I mean, this move here even peaked at like 266. Before coming back down to, before $66 or $65. So there's a lot of money to be made and lost even in this region. During the last cycle, though, we basically held the 20-week moving average all the way up until we broke it. And once we broke it, it was the bad news bears for quite a long period of time. So again, I think it's a really big psychological level, I think, for the bulls to remain in control, and you can kind of feel it, right? If we were to go to like 9,700, the bears win, right? The bears win in the short term. Nothing wrong with the friendly neighborhood bears winning. We kick the can down the road in a sense, and try again next time, right? And as we've showed before, the time between these tests has been about 6 months, right? This one was around 23, 24 weeks between these tests, and then this one was around 26 weeks, 27 weeks. So it tends to be, I mean, at least in this cycle, it's been about 5 to 6 months or so between, or around 6 months plus or minus a month between testing the 20-week to the downside. So if for whatever reason we don't hold it, if on the chance we don't hold it and we come back down here, and then we come back up, maybe we test it again in March or something. So about 6 months from now. So again, it's not a huge deal if we don't hold it. I think that if we don't hold it now, we'll probably hold it next time. But I think there's at least a fighting chance of holding it now. Remember, we're still looking to slowly trend back up to our prior all-time high at 20K. So we still need to do this. It's going to be a slower, methodical move, probably not going to be parabolic. If we do go parabolic, it's probably not sustained, going to come back down and continue on up. Right, as we've said, if equities tank, there's a good chance that Bitcoin's going with them. As I've said before, Bitcoin is not a hedge against a recession; it's a hedge against inflation. So, when markets are tumbling across the world, I don't anticipate Bitcoin to be doing really, really well. In fact, I mean, throughout Bitcoin's entire existence, it's basically been in one long bull market, right? In terms of equities, like equities have been in one long bull market essentially since Bitcoin's been around, because it was born out of the '08 financial crisis. So it was born out of the financial crisis. We haven't really had a recession since then. So, I mean, the data to date would suggest that equities doing well is good for Bitcoin. And if equities are not doing well, then it might lead us to believe that, I mean, at least in recent months, when equities perform poorly, it seems that Bitcoin also performs poorly, at least in the short term. But I mean, I think Bitcoin is a bit more resilient, right? I mean, it kind of gets it over with, right? This March crash was pretty quick, and then it pretty much quickly recovered. I don't really anticipate on there being a lot of volatility right now at the close, but it was basically just I told some people I would stream it this week, or I would stream it at the weekly close at some point, so you can see it. So we're currently at 10,330, and again the weekly is at 99.55, so still around $400 above the 20-week. So again, if we hold it, it's a good thing. We want to continue to hold it for several weeks at the very least, right? Slowly move back up, maybe come back up to 12K, maybe we come back down to the 20-week, back up, something like that. This would be ideal in terms of making a multi-year bull case for Bitcoin. A Bitcoin silver correlation. I plotted Bitcoin versus gold at some point, actually. You guys can check it out on the YouTube channel somewhere. The thing is with Bitcoin, when you plot Bitcoin against other things like gold or silver, it quantitatively is different, right? Because you're not comparing it to USD, but qualitatively it looks the same, right? If something goes up, Bitcoin went up like 10 million% over the last decade, does it matter if you're comparing it to USD or silver? It doesn't really matter, right? The curve looks the same. The difference, honestly, the difference between comparing it to USD and comparing it to some other random metric that's nominally moving in either direction is more or less a rounding error. I'm saying it's qualitatively, but you get the idea, right? It doesn't make a huge difference if you're just looking at like a qualitative comparison. Now, if you're looking at, say, like day-to-day comparisons of like if silver goes up, does Bitcoin go up that day? I don't really know. I don't know that answer off the top of my head. I can look into it, but yeah, we'll have to see. I think that there probably is some correlation there, but I don't know. Pedro Wynn says, what about the S&P crash soon? Hey, no one knows that the S&P is going to crash soon. A lot of people think it's going to crash, but that doesn't mean it's going to crash. This thing could continue for a long time before it crashes, potentially. I know it sounds crazy, but then again, back in March, if you had told people that, the S&P and the NASDAQ were going to be reaching new all-time highs, most of them would have laughed at you. And now the narrative changes. So don't get too wrapped up in what some people are saying, because again, no one really knows, right? No one really knows if it's going to crash tomorrow, next year, or in 5 years. No one really knows. We do have risk metrics for the S&P, which it seemed to work out quite well, but again, it's hard to predict these day-to-day moves. All right, it looks like it's 6 o'clock. my time, which means it's UTC time. It's where I'm currently am at 6 o'clock. UTC time, it's midnight, meaning that the weekly close has happened, and you can see we have started a new candle. So 2 candles in the books, right? So this one tested the 20-week, right? This one tested the 20-week, and you can see the wicks down to it over here. So now we've started our 3rd candle, and this 3rd candle is starting off, approximately 3% above the 20-week moving average. So we'll see what happens, right? We'll see if we can continue to hold it. Every week that goes by that we hold it's a really good sign, I think. In my opinion, it's a good sign. It's basically like what was happening over here when we were in this region, and I was saying, the longer that we just move sideways in this region, it's good, right? It's good, and eventually we moved up. So I'm going to contend that, and to some degree, if this is a bull market, right? If this is the beginning of a bull market, you might consider it to be one of those things where it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back, right? So like, you take this step here and then this to this step up here. So like down here up to this step to this one, and then 1 step back. So then you come back down. And then if you extend, just to get a visual, if we extend this out, you can see that we came back down to the top of that step in a sense. So that's what I mean by like 2 steps forward and then maybe 1 step back. So we're kind of back down to the top part. So we came up to this. This was our prior resistance that we had. Now we're at the top part of that range, trying to hold it as support, which just happens to line up with the 20-week moving average. So again, there's a good chance we hold it. If we do hold it, if Bitcoin does hold the 20-week, then and we repeat last cycle, right? If we just repeat the last cycle, then what that would mean, let me switch it back to the weekly time frame. If we do just repeat the last cycle, then we would need to, we would hold the 20-week, but eventually we would probably move back up to 12K if we repeat it, right? We move back up to 12K, and if we continue to repeat it, the 20-week's going to continue to go up. We would come back down to the 20-week, wherever that is, and then maybe back up to 12K, and then back down, and then maybe we break through, okay? This will be if the cycle repeats. Obviously, nothing's going to repeat exactly, but I'm just trying to show you guys what happened last time was exactly that, right? It came down to the 20-week, which happened, this was in taking 1 step backward, moved back up to the local top, which at today's prices would be 12K. It came back down to the 20-week, but at that point, the 20-week was slightly higher, and then it came back up to the local top, and then it broke through. Yeah, the S&P can always rally, right? And again, I would say that if you're overexposed or you're worried, remember, markets, as the general famous quote goes, like markets can stay irrational longer than you can stay solvent. So if you're betting the family farm on the fact that the S&P is going to tank, this is a really big risk, because it's not hard to imagine the S&P just moving back up, right? I know it sounds crazy, but obviously there's somewhat of a decoupling between what stocks are doing and what seems to be represented by what's going on in the global economy. So you just keep this in mind, of course. But yeah, you can see the new weekly candle here. It's nice. It really is nice to see a third one. If you look back at the last time, let's just quickly look back. Let me switch. This is on a weekly view. So if you look back at the last 2 times that we tried to hold it, so let me zoom in here. So the last time we tried to hold it was in September of 2019. You can see that we had the first candle that had a wick down to it, slightly below it. It was the next candle where we dumped. Okay, so had a candle here, wick down to the 20-week, then we dumped. Then later, candle straight down to the 20-week, immediately dumped. Okay, so same thing, right? Candle to the 20, then a dump. Candle to the 20, then a dump. Fortunately, this one was a candle to the 20, then we held, right? And this is the BLX, so it hasn't updated yet. But we held, and we already know that it held, and now we're in our third candle. So at least it's holding it right now for the short term, anyways. We at least held it for the short term, which is more than we can say for September and March. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you guys like the content. Please give the video a thumbs up too. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Still looking at Ether Bitcoin to continue moving up as well. Hopefully, I mean, as long as Bitcoin stays bullish, right, we anticipate this ratio continuing to move up. But not overly bullish, right? We don't want it to be overly bullish or overly bearish. We just want Bitcoin to be slightly bullish so that Ethereum can be more bullish, right? We want Ethereum to be more bullish so that this ratio continues to go up. So I'm just looking through the comments. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Monero Bitcoin. Yeah, we looked at this one in a video a few days ago, or a few weeks ago. Yeah, this is that general thing we said for Monero Bitcoin, right? And we identified this a few weeks ago, right? We said that it seems, right, like this is a really nice accumulation phase for Monero against Bitcoin, right? It seems like a pretty nice accumulation phase. And remember, as we showed before, it was Monero that saw a move against Bitcoin in late 2016, right? And later in 2016. Ethereum moved up against Bitcoin when Bitcoin was holding the 20-week, right? And even slightly before it held the 20-week. But it was Monero that made the move later on, and this was kind of like an intermediate move. This took place from June of 2016 to August of 2016. So about a couple months, Monero made a really nice move against Bitcoin. Remember, Bitcoin got to its prior all-time high in the first quarter of 2017. Monero wasn't doing anything too remarkable against Bitcoin at that time, but it was that move that happened later on in the year, which is what we might be building up to, right? I mean, if we do repeat it, then as I said before, like it's possible that we continue this move and then we ultimately break back out to that level. So this is my general thoughts on Monero. Ryan says, if you didn't have a position in Link, would you DCA? I don't know, man. Maybe. If I did, it wouldn't be very much. The risk on Link, I think, is still relatively high. But again, I mean, I mean, it's crazy how quickly the market can change, right? Like, you know, and again, if we repeat the last cycle, we would basically stay at the 20-week for a little bit, and then we would pump back up to 12K, and then maybe come back down and retest the 20. So yeah, and if this happens, right, if Bitcoin stays bullish, then coins like Monero might actually really start to shine, because I feel like they've been in this range-bound mode for a while now, and I'm looking for it to kind of move back up here, just like we identified it for ADA, for Cardano, a few months ago, and then it moved up against Bitcoin. Yeah, I do own DOT. I think Polkadot is one that is it's one that it's too risky not to hold for the market cycle. So I do own Polkadot. I don't really have any comments on the weekly MACD on Bitcoin. There's enough channels to talk about that stuff. I'm not gonna spend my time talking about it. I do earn some interest. You know, I mean, there's plenty of ways you can do it, right? There's DeFi, there's even centralized finance for those of you who want to be a little bit more against the grain, right, of what crypto is about. But there's decentralized finance or centralized finance. Of course, I have some interests that lie in those places to try to earn interest on some of the different coins. What do you consider important holds? I would say I mean, you guys know the main ones, right? The main ones I hold: Bitcoin, Ethereum, Link, and ADA, and DOT. Right? Those are the main five. Again, that's not a secret. Those are the main five that I think it gives you really good exposure, right? You know, it gives you exposure to Bitcoin, which is kind of like the index of the market. It gives you exposure to Ethereum, which is probably gonna, if Bitcoin does well, Ethereum will probably give you a better return, but you're taking on, you know, more units of risk to get that return. So again, there's no free lunch. ADA as a hedge against Ethereum. DOT is even maybe another hedge against you know, these smart contracts and these, you know, these platforms that you can build other projects off of. And then Link for, you know, oracles communicating, basically tying the blockchain to real world data. And I think having these five is a pretty good exposure to the market. And again, Monero is another one that it gives you exposure to privacy, right? I mean, if you're looking for exposure to, say, privacy coins, then I mean, obviously Monero would be like the go-to, right? This is like the kind of the quintessential privacy coin. Someone said, do you expect a major market move between now and the November U.S. election? You know, there are, if you look at historically speaking, there tends to be a dip in markets around election time. But even though there's typically a dip, they tend to recover quickly, I would say. So not the end of the world, right, if it dips. But even if it does tend to recover fairly quickly. Sam says, worst case scenario, if we are not in a bull market and or if we start a new bear market, will you continue to DCA and purchase coins? Yeah, but remember, I took profits, right? I mean, I took profits in Ethereum, took profits in Link, took profits in ADA. So it's all about taking profits because, again, you don't know where the top is. We don't know what's in store, so we take advantage of any speculative bubble that forms. Yeah, you guys can tell that I moved. Maybe you can tell I have a different background now than I did a few weeks ago, and it's because I moved. And actually, the reason why I didn't do a live stream last weekend was because I was preparing to move. Let me know if you guys have any more questions. Yeah, I saw the bounty. I saw the, there's like a, for those of you guys that didn't see it, there's like a $625,000 bounty if you can crack Monero, right? Because I guess the IRS wants access, or, you know, they basically want to be able to track the transactions. So there's $625,000 bounty on their reward, I guess. You're welcome, P Dizzle. He said, thanks for doing the live streams. We really enjoy them. Sam says, consider you're a beginner and never had the opportunity to take profit. What would you do? You got to start somewhere, right? You take profit when a bubble forms, right? You take profit when the bubble forms. do you ascribe to? Just holding Bitcoin. I mean, if you had bought Bitcoin in 2015 and then didn't sell it in 2017 and watched it come back down 80% in 2018, this just seems like completely dumb money to me. This is just dumb money. Jean-Louis says, did you look into Cosmos? Yeah, I've looked into it. I'm actually adding it to we have a risk dashboard for the premium list. I'm gonna add it there next week. I'm not gonna tell you where to stake the coins. There's always risks involved, and I'm not gonna tell you, where you should stake it. Just remember that no matter what you do, anything that you're doing, there's always a risk involved. Like there's a risk of watching this live stream, right? Maybe you're missing out on something that you would have otherwise been doing. There's a risk to everything, right? So if you are staking, again, there's a risk to doing that. And so if you are doing it, I would say, it might not be wise to do it with your entire portfolio, because what happens if what you thought was safe wasn't actually as safe as it seemed? So just keep this in mind. Someone said dumb money that's up 4,000%. I don't really know what that means, because you're talking about watching Bitcoin go from like 200 to 20,000 and back down to 3,000. Yeah, that's dumb money. If you want to cherry pick stuff, there's something called like the time value of money. If you're not DCAing out in a bubble, that's dumb money. If you wanna call it, you can call it whatever you want, but it is what it is. It's always good to have some money on the side, right? And that's why if you are DCAing out of the market, you could DCA into stable coins, or I would say DCA out of some coins back into Bitcoin if you're looking to maintain that exposure to the market, but you want to offset some of your risk from some of the altcoins that you're holding. What other questions do we have? Yeah, I would say someone says, I wish I was as dumb as you to have bought Bitcoin in 2015. That doesn't make any sense at all. Taiba says, is it worth investing in crypto for 1 to 3 months? This is pretty risky, right? If you're looking at a 90-day ROI, it's gambling, right? And you don't need crypto to do that, right? It's gambling if you're looking at a 90-day ROI. Someone says he holds a lot of XRP. You guys know my opinion on XRP, right? I've said it before. It's one of those coins that it makes more sense to look more into once Bitcoin gets closer to the prior all-time high, $20,000. Oh, this person named I think he must just be a troll. He's saying your own words made no sense. I did not say dumb money was buying in 2015. I said it was dumb if you bought in 2015 and then you did not sell any during the bubble and watched it go all the way back down to 3K. Like, this is okay. I think I'm just gonna hide you because I'm not gonna deal with trolls on the channel. All right, goodbye. Jean-Louis says, do you DC on the weekly basis on the price opportunity, or do you have one day in the week that you stick to no matter what? No matter what is the price, but based on the risk level? Yeah, it's the latter. And actually, it's not statistically significant, but I mean, it's on the premium list. I'm not going to share here, but there is a day for like the best day to buy Bitcoin and the best day to buy Ethereum. So I buy Bitcoin the same day every week, and I buy Ethereum the same day every week. The only reason that changes is if Bitcoin goes to the 200 week, I'll buy it on the 200 week, no matter what day it is, right? So that's the only time that I'll break away from that. Yeah, there's a lot of fear on market crashing. How do you deal with the noise and take strategic decisions? I just stick to the risk levels that I have. I mean, I know it sounds like, kind of like just saying the same thing over and over, but it's really as simple as that. I don't really let that other stuff get to me, right? If you did let it get to you, I mean, look at everyone who was shorting the market back in March, saying that the S&P was going to go down to like, much lower than it did. It went down to like 2,200. People were saying it was going to go down to 1,500 and so on and so forth. So again, this is all noise. These guys don't know what's going to happen. I would say, for me, I buy crypto when it makes sense to buy crypto, and I buy stocks when it makes sense to buy stocks. And the risk level on stocks a couple weeks ago reached 0.8, which is my sell point for stocks. So I sold 10%, and it worked out well because now stocks have come back down. But again, there's always someone out there that's saying that stocks are going to crash. Like, there's always someone saying that the stocks are going to crash next week, and most of the time they're wrong, right? But every once in a while they get it right because they say the same thing 1,000 times, and then everyone thinks that they're a genius for saying that stocks were going to crash, and they finally did. I mean, there's always doomsdayers, right? And then when it seems like the doomsday is happening, they cash in on it. They cash in on it because they say, "Oh, I told you so. I told you stocks were going to crash." But now look at it. I mean, stocks are back above where they were before the crash. So, and it's September, right? We're 6 months later and we're already at new highs. So keep this in mind, right? I know there's a lot of noise, people saying that stocks are going to crash. They could, right? I did sell some of my stocks a couple weeks ago when they really hit that high risk level. But even now, they could easily rebound and continue moving on up, which if they did would probably be good for Bitcoin, right? Probably be good for Bitcoin. Hey, I mean, we know they're going to crash one day, right? The question isn't, are they going to crash, right? It's when are they going to crash, right? And we know Bitcoin. It's not, is Bitcoin going to crash? It's when it's going to crash. And it's, can you make money between the crashes, right? I mean, unless you're doing like other types of trading, which we don't talk about on the channel, but, there's everything, basically everything crashes at some point. It's just a matter of how you react to it and what you're doing in the meantime. Chris says someday the sun will expand and consume the earth. That is true. I think it's about halfway through its life cycle, so eventually it's going to expand and completely engulf the orbit of the earth. So I think we have a few billion years, right? Maybe like 4 billion years or so before that happens. Yeah, okay, about 5 billion years, whatever. What's a few billion among friends, right? if Ethereum crashed, some say it would hit 50. Do you think it's possible? Not really. I mean, I don't really think it's going to go back to 50. It could certainly drop, right? We're not saying it can't drop. If you look at the Ethereum USD chart, let's just go ahead and put on our let me switch it over to one that has a little bit more history here. So if we put on the regression band, oh, that's the wrong one. It's this one. Let me get rid of this one. Yeah, so I mean the lower bound on this would be, I mean, I obviously could go below because it went below last time, but lower bound's at about 180, fair values around 255. Certainly going back to the fair values always on the cards, which really wouldn't even be that big of a drop, relatively speaking. I mean, it'd be a 30% drop to get back to the fair value. But even that, I mean, it's the main thing that would cause that, right? If Ethereum were to go to 30%, it's because Bitcoin went back to like 8K, right? If Bitcoin goes to like 8,200 or 8,100, something like that, then Ethereum's probably going back to 250. When you're asking me if it's going to go back to $50, I mean, that's like, to give you an idea where that is, I mean, that's all the way down here. It would legitimately be an 86% drop from where we currently are. I don't really think that's on the cards. I don't think that's on the cards. Atoya says, if Bitcoin hibernates, do you think Ethereum and DeFi will blow up? I think that if Bitcoin stays slightly bullish, if it stays above the 20-week, Ethereum will bounce back and will go back above 400 and will continue marching up the Ethereum-Bitcoin ratio, right? We'll continue to march back up this. But it's contingent, as we said, it's contingent on Bitcoin staying above this level. And again, we had our first week above it, right? Above the 20-week where we tested it. Second week where we even went below the 20-week on this wick, right? And now we're in the third week, okay? So third week, every single week that we continue to hold it, I think there's going to be more confidence coming back to Ethereum. I mean, even recently it pumped up to, not too long ago, it pumped up to like 380 something just the other day. Right? It pumped up to 387 relatively recently. So again, I think that as long as Bitcoin continues to hold this level, Ethereum's probably going to break back through 400 at some point. And even when it does, Bitcoin could still be at like 10.5 or something. Like, it doesn't need to. Bitcoin does not need to get to like 12K or 11K, in my opinion, for Ethereum to get back above $400 is what I mean. This is what I mean. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you guys like the content. Please give the video a thumbs up. We have 168 likes and 668 people viewing, so make sure you give the video a thumbs up. Let's try to get to like 300 likes, and please subscribe. Daniel says, how often do you do your risk analysis videos on YouTube? It tends to be about once every month or two. Once every month or two. If you want access to the risk levels, just check out the premium list. Again, that's at intothecryptoverse.com. I'll go ahead and just talk about it now. I mean, I don't make you guys watch ads or anything, or I don't do any paid promotions, right? So if you want access to the risk levels that I use to trade, which, by the way, did a really good job of predicting the link top. And if you don't believe me, once you join, you'll see it. You can check out intothecryptoverse.com. And check it out. You get access to a whole lot of stuff, including the weekly premium video, which I'm going to release in about an hour or two, the weekly report, the risk dashboard, the strategy dashboard, the private Telegram alerts channel, and the private chat room. So check it out. Prices are going to go up in 15 days. So if you want to get grandfathered in at the lower price, make sure you sign up before then. And if you have any questions, remember you can always join the Telegram chat room. We actually have over 6,000 members. So if you guys want to check out the Telegram chat room, I'm going to link it to you. So it's in the chat. Check out the Telegram chat room. Over 6,000 people there. So if you're looking for a community to talk crypto with, then that's the community to join. I do think it's higher quality than a lot of the Telegram chat rooms you'll find, by the way. Because we do a really good job of trying to moderate it and make it so that it's actually a useful chat room to be in. What other questions do we have? Again, as I said before, I don't really expect a ton of volatility right now. It wasn't really acting super volatile, which is probably a good thing. Honestly speaking, probably a good thing. But it's respecting 10.3 for now. And we'll see. We'll see if this week. I mean, there's obviously a chance that we come back down and test the 20-week. By the way, now that we have the weekly close, you can see the 20-week moving average has, what has it done? It's moved up. Now the 20-week moving average is over $10,000. So the 20-week moving average is now $10,025. So again, what does this mean? It means that Bitcoin needs to continue to move up to stay above it, right? If it's weak and moves back down to 9,800 and then goes sideways, right? 9,800 would have been good a couple weeks ago, right? This would have been support a couple weeks ago. 9,800 now, if we close there, would be below the 20-week. So again, for Bitcoin to stay bullish, and I think what people are going to be watching, right, is it going to maintain itself above it? And right now, we're about, it's about 3% above the 20-week moving average, okay? This one closed about, 4% above it. And then this one here closed about 3% above it as well. So we're currently about 3% above it. And I would say that we really need to continue to stay above it for Ethereum to, again, gain that confidence again. Yeah, this is actually, I've been meaning to do this. Someone said, can you compare the VIX to Bitcoin moves? If you're not familiar with the VIX, it essentially is a way to look at like volatility, right, of the market. So at some point, maybe I'll compare the VIX to like Bitcoin and see how they compare. See if like what kind of correlations we can find there. Lance says, would you mind giving your perspective on Litecoin, Bitcoin? Yeah, I mean, I've done it a lot before, but just to humor you, and if, in case anyone else holds Litecoin, my general opinion on Litecoin is wait until Bitcoin gets to the prior all-time high, right? Because it tends to just bleed against Bitcoin until that happens. You can see that this pump happened here in early 2017. We know what happened in early 2017, right? As we've said many, many times. Early 2017, if we go all the way back, well, let me look at the BLX so you guys can see it a little bit better. So early 2017 was when Bitcoin got to its prior all-time high. So that, again, as we've said before, that is when that's when Litecoin pumped against Bitcoin, that first quarter of 2017. In the meantime, it was mostly just moving down, right, on the macro scale. So just like over here, it's been moving down as well. This pump happened, right? We knew this leading into the halving, just like this one. So this led into the halving. We said that. And then over here, this one was leading into the halving. And so, we actually said, we anticipated some of these Litecoin moves against Bitcoin. But I still think that it's most likely going to trend down against Bitcoin until Bitcoin gets to its prior all-time high, which, as I've said, is probably not going to take place for another few months or for like another 16 months or so. So it might do something like this, right? That's my guess. And then maybe it picks up after that, if I had to guess. Yeah, it's similar to XRP. Someone says if stocks continue to go up with no further correction, does your risk levels adjust? They just adjust. It would basically redefine what the upper limit is. Okay, this is what it would do. Beef Supreme says, you don't think... I'm sorry, you don't think Bitcoin will hit $20,000 for another year and a half? Well, my friend, despite the Kool-Aid that is frequently served on other YouTube channels where people will tell you that Bitcoin is going to 100K by the end of 2021, we recognize that that is almost assuredly not the case, right? And that in fact, as we've seen before, what's more likely to happen, as we've noted, right, is you have these moves, right? You have the parabolic move up, a bear market, a slow move to the prior all-time high, which is connected by the yellow line, so you can see these triangles, right? A slow move up, then it goes parabolic into price discovery mode, the bear market, the slow move to the prior all-time high, then it goes parabolic, bear market, slow move to the prior all-time high, then it goes parabolic. The reason why we're drawing it out here, again, as I've said many, many times, and sorry for repeating myself for the people that watch me frequently, but again, it's just because we look at the last cycle and recognize that, you know what, by the time we reached our prior all-time high, we were still within the regression band. And this regression band is a logarithmic regression band fit to non-bubble data of the equation 10 raised to the power a times the ln of x minus b, all in parentheses, by the way, fit to the non-bubble data. And then if you do that, you get this equation here, which, by the way, needs to be refit every cycle. If you just fit it to each, say this cycle, it would have made different predictions. But what I find is if you fit it to the bear market of the last cycle, it does a pretty good job of predicting the bottom of the next cycle. So the idea is to see it likely reach 20K within the regression band, which means the regression band, right, currently the fair value is at 93.87, the upper value is at 13.184 or 13,814, and the lower bound is at 63.79, which happens to correspond more or less to the 200-week moving average, right? So what I'm saying is that we're likely going to reach 20K in this regression band, and that, as we saw the last cycle, it's more of a slower move up, right, rather than a parabolic move. So I would suggest that it's going to be a slower move up to that point, and then we go parabolic into, say, 2023, seeing a new all-time high in 2023, where we might, again, peak at around 100K, somewhere between maybe 100 to 200K, something like that. I don't know, something like that. So this is my general point on that. I'm not a 4-year cycle man. All right, Eli the Great looks like he wants to be banned from the channel, so I'll go ahead and oblige you. Daniel says, if lengthening cycles are true, and if Bitcoin is getting less volatile, shouldn't normalize the risk metric never to be reaching 1 or close to 1 again? Well, this is the key thing, right? So for Bitcoin, the risk metric has been optimized to account for lengthening cycles and diminishing returns. So the other risk metrics for the other coins have not been, but for Bitcoin, we have enough data. I optimized it to basically account for the fact that we're going to see diminishing returns and lengthening cycles. Therefore, I do still expect it to get to the 0.9 to 1 risk band. Yes, this cycle will take longer. This is one of those things too where so many people on my channel think that everyone thinks that lengthening cycle theory is a thing, but if you go to Reddit or Twitter where I post a lot of this stuff, most of my stuff just gets downvoted because the general consensus, right, is that Bitcoin's going to 100K in 2021, and if you say anything against that, then you're just it's just FUD, right? You're just saying nonsense. So again, if you only watch my channel, you are somewhat living in a bubble. I can assure you that most people in crypto still think we are going to 100K in about 15 months, and I don't think this is true by any means. Matthew says, play some music in the background, really livens up the stream. Unfortunately, I tried doing that one time, but it was just too distracting. Again, I'm really not here to entertain you. It's just to look at the data. So if you find the data useful, then great. But it's not really an entertaining channel, I don't think. Doge says it gets downvoted because no one wants you to make an efficient market. It doesn't matter what I do. The market is becoming more efficient. You look at the autocorrelation function on Bitcoin, which shows the price of Bitcoin, the correlation of Bitcoin to a lagging version of itself, and you can see that it's becoming more efficient. It does not matter what Ben does. It does not matter, what I say. The market is becoming more efficient, and it has been becoming more efficient for years and years and years now. Well before I created my channel, and I didn't create this channel until 2019. Okay, so there's already a lot of evidence to suggest that it's already becoming very efficient. I think really what it is people just want their money, they want their ROI, and they want it now, right? That's what it is. How do you define becoming efficient? This is just a general. It's not how I define it, right? There's key statistical tools you can use to look at if a market's efficient or inefficient. Yeah, I don't think I have any influence on the market, guys. And the reason I don't talk about micro caps, by the way, is because I would be worried that I might have some influence over the market, and that's why I don't talk about coins that are only like a market cap of 1 million or something. I talk mainly about large cap coins. Yeah, I do already hold Polkadot, and I'm looking to hold it for the cycle. Yeah, I anticipate. I think Ethereum is about one cycle behind Bitcoin, right? And we've showed this before. I don't know if I actually have it on here. I can always add it later, but so here's the Ethereum chart. I'll try to make another video on it soon, but let me see if I have the metric on here. Well, maybe this is it. So if you compare like the price, if you take the percent difference between the price and the regression line, and you do this for both Ethereum and Bitcoin, you can actually see that Ethereum is like one market cycle behind Bitcoin. That's why I say that if you think about Bitcoin, where was Bitcoin back in 2015? It was around $200, and then in 2017 it went to $20,000, so it was about 100x, right, from bottom to top. Most people obviously don't realize that because they didn't buy at the bottom and they don't sell at the top. But if, for the most efficient person who bought at the bottom and sold at the top, they were up about 100x, right? This cycle, I imagine, from bottom to top for Bitcoin would probably be like 30x or 40x or so. But for Ethereum, I think it could still be around 100x, maybe probably less than 100x, probably like 80 to 90x at the most, right? Which if Ethereum was around, it was less than $100 at the low, it's probably going to end up being, I don't think it's going to quite reach 10,000. I know a lot of people would like it to reach 10,000. I think there's a higher chance it reaches like, there's a better chance that it peaks out at like, say, like somewhere between like 5 to 8 or 9,000, somewhere in there. I would be shocked, honestly, if it made it to 10K, but maybe it does, right? I mean, if Bitcoin goes to 150K and Ethereum is able, or let's just say Bitcoin goes to 100K, right? If Bitcoin goes to 100K and the Ethereum Bitcoin ratio goes back to 0.1, right? Which, by the way, during the last cycle, it peaked at like 0.15. So if it just went back to 0.1 and Bitcoin were 100 grand, then this would put Ethereum at $10,000. So it's certainly possible, but I'm just saying that if it were to reach $10,000, I would probably be mostly out of the market by that point. Yeah, I've often said, Mike, that all models are wrong. Some are useful. This is I did my PhD in nuclear engineering, so this is some of those. I mean, you kind of recognize early on that basically every model you make is wrong to some degree, but some of them can tell you some insight into what's going on. Yeah, you say, do you see Ethereum and Bitcoin uncorrelating or decoupling through 2021? I mean, I mean, you're already seeing a move of Ether against Bitcoin, right? I mean, there's this move back up. I think this is, as we've said before, I think this is the momentum shift, right, of 2020, and we've been covering this for a long time. We were in this downtrend channel. We bottomed here, second bottom, started moving up. I think 2020 is a major year for the Ethereum Bitcoin ratio, right? I think it's a major year. We probably will spend a decent amount of time, as we've said, in this region. The question, right, is, are we going to come up and bubble and then come back down or not? And I still think it remains to be seen. Let me know what other questions you guys have. What do you think the peak price of ADA in the next bull run would be? I don't know. Probably. I mean, if everything goes well, right? And I mean, and by everything goes well, I mean a lot of stuff has to go well. Maybe a few dollars. How high do you think Polkadot can reach in the upcoming bull run? I really have no idea. There's really not enough data. I mean, it's currently at around $5. If you see coins like Ethereum going up like 50x or something insane, it's possible that Polkadot does the same thing or even better. The market cap is lower, so I mean they have a lot more to prove, right? But it is. I mean, I could see it doing quite well. I really don't know an exact number on it, but I think it could do quite well. Do you? Someone said, do you have positions in gold? Yeah, I do. Where do you see support for Ethereum? I mean, I think it's. I mean, obviously $300 would be a place where it seemed to held support last time, but I think it really just depends on what Bitcoin does. Someone says, you in old videos you said buying Bitcoin until the risk metric of 0.3 and selling at 0.4 and above. This was for the conservative risk. I mean, this was for the conservative risk tolerance, right? And we still have this strategy for people that want to follow it. But the point was to come up with different strategies for people with different risk tolerance. This is the goal, right? So we have the different strategies for different people. Do you have a Litecoin analysis that hasn't pumped yet? This is what we said, right? It's probably not going to pump until Bitcoin gets to the prior all-time high. Will the risk metrics for Ethereum be updated? Yeah, I mean, they automatically update, right? I don't have to do anything. They automatically update. They adjust on their own. They're dynamic. Z says, how come you don't discuss fundamentals? I mean, we've looked at we've had videos on like on-chain performance of various coins. I don't really know what you mean. How low do you think Litecoin can go before the bounce? As I said before, I think that Litecoin is probably going to trend, probably stay somewhere between like 40 to 60 bucks for a while, right? Probably, I mean, obviously it can bounce out of that range if the market's either doing really well or doing quite bad. But I think for the most part, for at least for the next year or more, it's probably going to mostly be range bound or in that area. Do you think Bitcoin will maintain its number one position in the next 5 to 10 years? Well, in the next 5 years, let's presume that we're in a bear market. I would assume that it would be number one. I think that there's always a chance that Ethereum overtakes it this market cycle, but even if it were to overtake it, it probably would not be sustainable. In 10 years, I still think 10 years from now, I mean, so 10 years would be 2030. I don't think the next bull market would peak after the one in, say, 2023. The next one would probably be like 2032, 2031. I still think it probably would be number one, but, you know, it's so far ahead, it's really hard to say. I just learned about the markets by studying it on my own time during grad school. The risk at 20K was around points. Oh, so total Nestoka. You're looking at the risk metric of Bitcoin before I updated it. This is the same one I used for the altcoins. So there was a new model that I put out, like I put out the base model, and then like a week or two later I put out the one that optimized for the diminishing ROI. So you need to look at like the video that I published like a week after that one, I think. Do you recommend buying altcoins now while they're low and saving some more in case Bitcoin goes below 20 week? I would certainly be cautious against altcoins. Like I would say just be cautious, because if Bitcoin goes below it, if Bitcoin goes below the 20 week, altcoins will not fare very well at all. So I mean, I think it's good to have dry powder on the side at a lot of different times, or all the time, to take advantage of a potential drop whenever it happens. Like I contend that you can't risk not having money on the sideline to scoop up cheap crypto if there is a drop, like we had in March, right? If we have a drop like that again, you want to be able to take advantage of that. I don't know about any of the apps in the Play Store offering free Bitcoin. I probably wouldn't waste my time with it, to be completely honest. Do you have a favorite crypto other than Bitcoin and Ethereum that you're looking forward to seeing grow this bull market? Yeah, I mean, probably the main. I mean, the main three would be Chainlink, Cardano, and Polkadot. Those are the main three I'm following. You're welcome for the live stream. Couldn't Ethereum have its own bull run at a time different than Bitcoin? Yeah, I mean, we've seen this before, right? I mean, the Ethereum Bitcoin chart, we've seen it. I mean, Ethereum had a really nice bull run in the beginning of 2016, right? This was a really nice bull run in 2016. And Bitcoin in 2016 wasn't really doing a whole lot at that time. Remember, in early 2016, this was when it was testing that 20-week moving average, right? So actually, let me go back to 2016. So early 2016, Bitcoin was slowly moving up, but during this time, Ethereum was going parabolic, and more importantly, the Ethereum Bitcoin ratio was going parabolic. So we already know that if you look at, let's say, the covariance, they do not tend to move like exactly with one another, right? Like Ethereum can go up a lot when Bitcoin is mostly not doing much of anything. I don't do day trading. So That's up to you, man. I don't really do the day trading. I'm more looking at like long-term momentum shift in the market trading. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, guys, if you guys like it. Give the video a thumbs up. We only have like 278 likes. If someone wants to get some ADA, should they trade Bitcoin or ETH for it? We actually cover this on the premium channel, so I don't really want to cover it here. There is obvious. I mean, that's the reason why we have the risk metrics for the altcoins against USD, Bitcoin, and Ethereum, so that you can figure out which one makes the most sense to buy with, based on its volatility against that coin. Someone said, does the sudden bear trend accumulating within the past few days affect the cycle of this bull run? You know, as I've said many times, even in bull runs, right? Even in bull runs, you see these moves, right? I mean, and we showed this before. You know, even during these bull markets, you see those moves where there's like a 20 to 30% move back down to the 20-week, right? It doesn't mean it's over. I mean, it doesn't mean it's not either, right? But we see these 20, 30, 40% moves back down to the 20-week moving average. So until it breaks, if it breaks, then this is a key. This would be a game changer, right? This is a game changer if this happens. It doesn't necessarily mean it doesn't 100% mean that the bull market's over, but it means that I would probably be mostly out of the market. Especially out of altcoins, right? I would be mostly out of altcoins at that time, and probably mostly out of Bitcoin, depending on how high Bitcoin went, right? If Bitcoin went parabolic and the risk went to 0.9, yeah, I would be out of the market. If it were, say, at like 0.6 or 0.7, I would still retain a lot of my position. Yeah, I'm not going to do classical music. I think that it would just be distracting, because I tried to do music once and it was just distracting. It's just on the website, the risk metrics on the website, intothecryptoverse.com. I'll just pull it up again. I'll just paste it into thecryptoverse.com if you want access to the premium stuff. Someone said, are you accumulating DOT with Bitcoin, Ethereum, or USD? With USD, actually. Even though it's really risky, I generally would not recommend buying altcoins when Bitcoin is this close to the 20-week, right? Because if it drops below the 20-week, then this is when altcoins would bleed significantly. So it's really the only, I don't consider Ethereum an altcoin, so it's the only altcoin that I'm really buying right now. What other questions do we have? Yeah, you can unsubscribe at any time. Just let me know. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel at least, and give the video a thumbs up. No, this is not my full-time job. I work in, I do have a day job in computational material science. Yeah, my PhD was in nuclear engineering. I did not get a PhD in nuclear engineering to make YouTube videos on crypto. This is a side hobby, of course. What percent chance do you give that lengthening cycle theory isn't correct? I don't know. I think I've said that there's like a 10% chance that we could peak in 2021, but I really don't. I really think that that's even too high, right? I think that it's more likely that, right? I mean, if Bitcoin were to drop below the 20-week, right, which is always a possibility, and even if we do drop below it, I still contend we have plenty of time to continue back up, right? So if we do drop below it and come back down and then continue on up, it's still, I would still say it's just business as usual, right? We still have plenty of time to get there, and it'd be okay. I think it's a lot more likely that lengthening cycle theory is true just based on historical data, right? And we've looked at this several times. We'll do it one more time in this video just so if you're new you can see it. So we'll measure it 3 different ways, of course. We'll measure it, and let's just do the dates so that it's really simple to see. We'll measure like bottom to bottom. This was 67 weeks, bottom to bottom, 165 weeks, bottom to bottom, 200 weeks. So I think the next bottom will probably be like, 250 weeks, 300 weeks, I don't really know, something like that. But if we extend it out, something like this, we're probably looking at the next bottom in, say, 2024 or something like that. So that's measured bottom to bottom. If you measure bottom to top, right, so bottom to top is 44 weeks, then 110 weeks, then 154, so still monotonically moving up. So next bottom to top, right, we're probably looking at over 154 weeks, right? So 154 weeks, which would be what the last cycle was. If it were 154 weeks, which I don't think it would be, then it would put it at what most people consider to be the 4-year cycle, right? The end of 2021. But you can see that we're increasing, right? It was 44, 110, 154. I think the next one will probably be longer. So, maybe August 2023, something like that. And then finally, so that's measuring it 2 different ways. And then measuring it the third way, if you measure peak to peak, it's 131 weeks, then 211 weeks, right? And then the next one would theoretically be maybe at least another 100 weeks up. Or sorry, not 100 weeks up. So the first one was 131 to 211. So let's go out to say like, 270, something like that. And we're looking at 2023. So I think, again, that most things point to a lengthening cycle. Again, if you want to cherry pick the data, you can obviously come up with a way that, you can say that it's a 4-year cycle, but again, you're just cherry picking, right? You're just cherry picking the data. It does not always peak in December. I mean, the first peak was in May of 2011. Just because the last 2 peaked in December doesn't mean that they're all going to peak in December, because the first one actually peaked in May. Yeah, so if you look at the let me delete this. So yeah, if you look at the bottom of the regression band, it actually corresponds to the 200 week, right? Which we've talked about. So I mean, the 200 week is at 60, 6,500. Obviously, there's always a chance we go to the 200 week moving average at any point. Do keep in mind though that, you know, once we cross through the regression band, the 200 week, we did not come back into it until identically the all-time high, right? So you draw a line as we've drawn before. You go straight up. It came into the regression band right at the all-time high. So once it left the regression band, it started to get pulled up rather quickly as it got dragged up by the price. We're currently looking to maybe exit it in about another month or two. Maybe we'll exit the regression band because remember, the regression band monotonically moves up, right? So the price for the price has to go up rather quickly for the 200 week to stay within or to go out of it. Sorry, I mean if the price does not go up quickly, if the price does not go up quickly, then the 200 week moving average, right, is not gonna keep up with the regression band. It's when the price starts to move like that and then come back down that the 200 week gets dragged up to it, right, like it did last cycle. So you can see that like right here. So it gets dragged up to it. Yeah, there's only one premium option on the website. Yeah, so someone says, how do you deal with taxes with bull and bear markets? You got to be careful with taxes, right? Because you don't want to get burned. Remember, if in 2017, if you sold your Bitcoin, you incur a tax event on it, and then if you had invested it in altcoins and then you lost that money, you still owed the taxes. So you have to be really careful about taxes. Do you think old altcoins will perform the same? I think that other coins, like, these old, I think they can perform well, but they probably won't perform as well as they did in the last cycle. So I think the flavor of the month stuff, right? All the coins that come out like every other day, like these are flavors of the month, right? There's going to be a new one next month and a new one the month after that. These are phases. These are fads. They'll come and go. I would say pick the projects that actually are not just like these like quick pumps, right? That some coin developer gets paid by let's say some YouTube creator gets paid by some person who just minted an ERC20, and they use that to pump the market and then dump on their audience. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, don't follow this stuff, right? Don't feed into that, right? Because what's happening is, and by the way, let me dispel with the myth. It is not hard to create an ERC20, right? You can, a middle schooler could code an ERC20 token. So don't fall for it. Just because there's something shiny and someone comes up with a cool name for a coin doesn't mean it should be worth anything, right? It's just that they print the coin, right? They mint the coin by writing a couple lines of code. They distribute the coins to they'll either have an ICO, or they distribute them for free. Then the developers keep part of it, right? Or they give part of it away to like YouTubers or influencers to shill it, and then they dump on you. Don't fall for this stuff, like, right? Just don't fall for it. It's the same thing over and over. Someone said they just tuned in. What's going on? And we were just watching the weekly close, just seeing if it closed above the 20 week, which it did. So we'll see if that continues to hold. But I mean, it's certainly good in the short term, anyways, to see it hold. We'll see if we can continue to print weekly candles above the 20-week, right? I mean, this would be good if we can continue to do so. This is our regression band, so the fair value is currently around 94.58 because we just got another week, I guess. So 94.58. It's based on the UTC close. So UTC close it's just at midnight UTC time, which was about 71 minutes ago. You guys are talking about kicking the can a lot. You guys want to kick the can down the road? If you held Link from 2 to now, I mean, it's a shame you didn't take profits at the higher levels because we were there for such a long period of time. Yeah, I mean, hey guys, if we kick the can down the road, there's really nothing wrong with that, right? There's nothing wrong with that. I still contend that over the next few years, we're still going to trend up. And the contention also, right, is that even if we do kick the can down the road, we still have plenty of time to recover and continue on the same journey we've always been on. So maybe we kick the can down the road one more time, maybe we don't. I would just say be prepared for either move. I should make a YouTube poll. Who thinks we're going to kick the can down the road, and just see how many people are confused by what I mean. Hey, I'm not saying that we're kicking the can down the road. There's a chance that we don't, right? There's a chance we hold it. We've held it 2 weeks so far. There's obviously a chance we hold it. I'm just saying that if it does happen, right, it's not the end of the world if it does happen. So, sorry if you guys hear my kids in the background. I don't know why he's crying. I didn't even talk about XRP recently. It is bath time, actually. Someone said sounds like bath time. They are getting a bath. Make sure you guys subscribe. Trying to get to 40,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so let's try to get there. Give the video a thumbs up. Turn on the notifications if you guys like the content. Thanks for subbing to the channel. All right, guys. Seems like I think I don't. Bitcoin isn't really being too volatile right now. The markets aren't really moving too much right now, so there's really not a whole lot more to say. right? It's just we're just gonna have to wait and see, so to speak. We'll wait and see how stocks do this week. We'll wait and see how crypto does. But again, there's I don't think we can come to too many conclusions yet. So I think we'll probably go ahead and wrap it up. Remember, I am about to release the weekly premium video in about an hour or so. So if you guys want to get access to that, you would get access to all the prior videos too and the prior reports. So it'd be about like 24 reports, maybe more, and like 20 videos or something like that. So again, if you want access to that, check out the premium list at intothecryptoverse.com. Remember, the prices are going up September 28th. So if you want to get grandfathered in, you need to sign up before September 28th. So yeah, 15 days. Sign up before then if you want to get grandfathered in. Otherwise, the prices are going up, and they are going up a lot. So if you want to, have the community for the market cycle and want to get in at the lower price, make sure you sign up before that. You get access to the weekly reports, the weekly videos, the risk dashboard, the strategy dashboard for DCAing out of the market, the private alerts channel, and the private Telegram chat room. And then finally, if you want to just join the community, join the Telegram community, make sure you check that out too. So check it out, and I'll go ahead and wrap it up there, and we'll see you guys. We'll see you guys next time. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, turn on your notifications, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.